If you can raise your right hand, please. Do you affirm under penalty of perjury that the information you provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And you are Marvin Haynes, Jr.?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Markford?
All right. Good afternoon, Marvin.
Good afternoon.
All right. Where do you currently reside?
Stillwater Correctional Facility.
Okay. And are you currently serving a life sentence for the murder of Harry Sherer?
Yes.
Okay. And you do understand that Mr. Sherer was murdered on May 16th, 2004?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Marvin, did you murder Harry Sherer?
No.
All right. Did you in any way aid or assist anyone else in connection with the murder of Harry Sherer?
No.
Now, do you understand that Mr. Sherer was shot at Jerry's Flower Shop at 33rd and Lindale in North Minneapolis?
Yes, I do know.
Okay. Now, were you at Jerry's Flower Shop at any point on May 16th, 2004?
No, I was not.
How old were you in May 2004?
I was 16 years old.
Okay. Were you in school at the time?
Yes, I was. I was in school.
Do you remember where you were going to school at that time?
I think I was going to IDT.
Okay. And what kind of school is that?
It's like a, I wouldn't say a behavior school. It's more like a less traditional schooling program, I guess.
Okay. Would it be for students who have a hard time in a traditional academic environment?
Yes.
Okay. Now I want to walk through what you recall about May 16th, 2004, the day of the flower shop murder. Before we get to that, I want to go back one day and ask you, what do you recall about what you were doing the preceding night? So that would be Saturday, May 15th, 2004.
Normal things. I was hanging out. Went to a little get together with some of my friends, my cousins.
Okay.
Just regular kid things.
Do you remember whose home you were hanging out at that night?
Yeah, Muffy's.
Okay. That was a friend of yours?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you recall how late you were there that night?
I was there pretty late, till about 2 or 3 in the morning.
Okay. And well, you guys were just hanging out. What were you up to that night?
Just regular stuff. I was over there just mingling with her. So I mean, just having fun, just being around women. Like my age, just kid things basically.
Normal teenage stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Did anybody? Did you say anything that night about any plans to commit a robbery?
No.
Did anybody else?
No.
So what did you do after you left Muffy's house that night?
I went home, but in the midst of me going home, I took Isaiah home because he lived close to where I lived at. So I took him home, and then I went home that night.
Okay. Do you remember what you did after you got home that night?
Yeah, I do. I went in the house, turned my mom's air conditioner off, made some food, and watched TV.
Okay. And where were you living at the time?
33 or 3343 Russell, I believe.
Okay. But that was your mom's house, is that? Okay. What's your mother's name?
Sharing ship.
Okay. And who else was living at your mother's house at the time?
Myself, Marquita, Cynthia, Sharita, and their kids.
Okay. Do you remember when you got out of bed that Sunday, May 16th?
Yeah, around 3 o'clock, late in the afternoon, real late in the afternoon.
Okay, sometime around 3, you said?
Yeah.
Was your sleep interrupted at some point prior to 3 o'clock?
Yeah, it was. It was interrupted by my sister Marvina.
Okay. And what happened, to the best you can recall?
She just was messing with me, telling my mom I took her shoes or where her shoes at, cussing at me, and just stuff like that.
All right. Did you take the shoes?
Yeah.
You did?
I did,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Now, what did you do after this interaction with Marvina?
I went back to sleep. Actually, I just was like, rubbed it off and went back to sleep.
Okay. And from that point on, you were sleeping until you said around 3 o'clock?
Yeah, around 3.
All right. Do you recall testifying at trial that you slept all morning and got up around 3 in the afternoon?
Yes,
You recall doing
absolutely.
that? Okay. Why didn't you mention at trial that your sister Marvina woke you up earlier in the morning?
I actually didn't think it was relevant. It was more like they were asking me like how long I was asleep or what I was doing. So I didn't really think it was relevant to tell them all the details of that type of stuff.
Okay. So, I'm gonna ask you a hypothetical. Let's say we're hanging out and I say, what time did you get up today? And at one point in the night, you'd gotten up to go to the bathroom, went back to sleep. Would you share that information with me?
Probably not.
Okay. What if you got up and got a drink of water? Would you share that information with me?
Probably not.
Why not?
I feel like it's not important. It's not relevant to the situation.
Why not? What was I asking you for?
When I was asleep, what time I wake up?
What time you got up that day?
Yeah,
Okay. And that's what you testified to at trial?
yeah.
All right. Now, what once you finally did get up for the day around 3 o'clock, thereabouts, do you recall what you did later that afternoon?
Yes, I recall.
Okay. What do you remember doing?
After brushing my teeth, washing my face, getting dressed for the day, I went to a girl named Didi house to try to get my hair braided over there. So, yeah, I actually left and went on 26 in Penn.
Okay. Did she actually braid your hair that afternoon? Do you remember?
She started to braid it, but one of my it was kind of like a certain area that was kind of couldn't be braided, so she wasn't able to really completely braid it. Yeah.
Okay. You remember anything else you did that later that day?
Yeah, I went to a couple of my other friends' house, like that I used to hang out with on 26 and Oliver, and then I seen my ex. Somebody that a girlfriend of mine. Then I went back home.
Okay. Now, prior to going to Dee Dee's house that afternoon, how were you wearing your hair?
It was in an afro. It was like picked out, like a little afro.
Okay. So I'm gonna pull up on the screen what's previously been introduced as Petitioner's Exhibit 24, and you're gonna have to swivel a little bit to look at it.
Okay.
I think it's coming up. Hopefully. Okay. Do you recognize this to be your mugshot from the date of your arrest in 2004?
Yes, that's me.
Okay, that was May 19th, 2004?
Yeah.
3 days after the shooting of Harry Sherer?
Yes.
Okay. Does this picture accurately reflect how you were wearing your hair on May 16th, 2004?
No, not accurate. It was picked out more.
Okay.
It was like it wasn't as matted as it is on that picture that it reflects right there.
Okay. Was it about that length? The length would be the same?
It's actually a little longer. It just was matted down in that picture.
Okay. And that would be because you used a comb to pick it out to give it more
Yeah,
volume?
a pick, yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you. And we just looked at the mugshot, but do you recall being arrested on May 19th, 2004?
Yeah, I recall.
All right. Do you remember the reason they gave you for why you were being arrested?
Or either a traffic ticket or, I think they said a traffic ticket or I missed court the prior day or something like that. It was something real minor that they told me.
They didn't tell you. They didn't tell you it was for murder when you were arrested.
No, they did not.
All right. Now, do you recall being interrogated by 2 officers after you were arrested that day?
Yes, I do. David Matson and Michael Keefe.
Okay. All right. Your Honor, at this time I'm going to move the admission of what we've marked as Petitioner's Exhibit 16, which is a video recording of the interrogation of Mr. Haynes on May 19th, 2004. It's a 2-part video, approximately 2 hours, 43 minutes, and 35 seconds in length.
Okay. Is there any objection?
There is, Your Honor. I think that constitutes self-serving hearsay. It's prohibited under State v. Taylor and some of the more recent Minnesota Supreme Court decisions touching on that topic. Mr. Haynes testified at length at trial, and so the version of events has already been as part of the record in the trial testimony, and I don't see an additional reason for it need to be included today.
Was the video shown at trial?
I do not believe it was, for the same reason that I think it would be self-serving hearsay.
Okay. And counsel, how would this not be
So-
self-serving hearsay?
Yeah, so a couple points. One, I think we're offering this for multiple reasons, at least 2 of which are pure non-hearsay reasons. So one of them is that this video is the most definitive evidence of Mr. Haynes' voice at the time. So you've heard a whole bunch of testimony about how Cynthia McDermott described the perpetrator as speaking with clarity as if he had an education. Well, you can watch this video, you can hear exactly how Mr. Haynes spoke at the time, and it's not a match. So and that's a non-hearsay use for the video. We're also interested in showing a bunch of things that were said to Mr. Haynes, that were told to him, that goes to the effect on Mr. Haynes as the listener. So, and is not for the truth of the matter. So specifically, the officers in this interrogation used what we often refer to as the false evidence ploy, where they told him, we have your DNA, we have your fingerprints, evidence that was not true. So he was presented with this false evidence, did not confess in spite of that, in situations in which many people, particularly many young people, would confess whether or not they did the crime. So the evidence goes towards the effect on him, and has probative value that has nothing to do with the truth of the matter. In fact, it's, if anything, presented for the non-truth of the matter. Further, I would argue that even Mr. Haynes' statements in the video are excluded from the definition of hearsay under Rule 801 D1B as statements that are consistent with the declarant's testimony and helpful to the trier of fact in evaluating the declarant's credibility as a witness. I recognize that there's Minnesota Supreme Court case law holding that prior consistent statements are only considered useful once the witness's credibility has been challenged. But in this case, his credibility has been challenged in the preceding trial. So we would argue that this carve-out from the admission of definition of hearsay applies as well. So for all those reasons, we would say it is admissible.
But he said it's 2 hours and 43 minutes.
And we would intend to admit the full video on a flash drive, so Your Honor can watch it at your convenience. We were planning to show 4 shorter clips for purposes of Mr. Haynes' testimony today.
Your Honor, can I have an opportunity to respond further?
Sure, but I got a
Understood.
question. The 4 clips that you want to show, have you shared those with the state?
We have not shared the clips, we've shared the full video.
Okay, why don't we take a moment just so you can tell the state which 4 clips you want to show and see if the state objects to those 4 clips, and then we can decide the larger issue.
Okay.
We'll just take a break in place. Okay. Turn off.
This one. Okay. Thank you.
Have you all been able to discuss it?
We have.
Okay, we'll go ahead back on the record, please. Mr. Petras, what's the state's view?
The state stands by its original position about it constituting self-serving hearsay. With that said, for the purposes of today's proceeding, if these 4 individual clips were to be admitted for this court's consideration, the state's fine with that.
Okay. Well, why don't we start with the 4 and we'll discuss later about the full interrogation or not.
Okay. Just while we're talking about this, I was going to proceed to move to admit the transcript of the interrogation as well, mostly for Your Honor's convenience and reference, so that you have a transcript. That we had marked as Petitioner's Exhibit 17.
Usually with transcripts, what we'll do is mark it as like 16A. We can make it 17 if you want, but we'll usually make that a court exhibit with
Sure.
a normal trial because it's not the evidence. The evidence will be the audio.
Sure.
And with the understanding that I may not look at anything other than the 4 clips, depending on what any later ruling is, does the state have any objection to the court receiving the transcript for use?
The use of the transcript with respect to those 4 individual clips that have been identified is just fine. It would probably be of aid to the court.
Okay. So we'll go ahead and receive it as, you had it marked as 17, you said? So we'll keep it marked as 17 when we get the court exhibit.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
I would just ask that if you are introducing 4 clips, that you let us know kind of the start time, end time, just so that for any appellate reasons they'd have that.
Absolutely. All right, is it queued up though? Just waiting for it. All right. All right, Marvin, so I'm going to play a series of clips from the video of your interrogation and then ask you a few questions, okay?
All right, okay.
All right. So first, we're playing a clip from what we've marked for identification purposes as Petitioner's Exhibit 16. This is starting at the timestamp of approximately 31:30, running through approximately 32:37. If we could play the clip.
I'm not going to get into our will, okay. If you've never been in this flower shop, why would your fingerprints be found either in there or on some things inside there? I don't know. A card, a little card. I don't know. I ain't never been in there. I don't know how your fingerprints get in there then after that, if you've never been in there. I don't know. I don't think I've been. I don't even be on my own in there like that. I know that if you be over there, but I don't be over there though. Of course, and also I know camera right now. In the stores, you have surveillance cameras and stuff. Yeah. I haven't been over there before. I ain't never been in those flower shops. Okay. So you weren't in there on Sunday, this past Sunday, the 16th? Probably not. I don't go to no flower shop this week.
All right, Marvin, in the clip we just watched, one of the officers told you that your fingerprints were found at the flower shop, correct?
Yes.
All right. And did he infer that you were also caught on a surveillance camera?
Yes.
All right. Now, when they confronted you with that evidence, why didn't you just admit you were in the flower shop?
Because I was not there.
Okay. Do you know if they actually found your fingerprints at the flower shop?
They never found my fingerprints there at all.
Okay, so when they said that, was that true?
That was untrue. That was not true at all.
All right. And do you know if you were actually seen on any surveillance footage at the flower shop?
I was never seen on no footage, no fingerprints ever, none of that stuff that they said on the video.
All right. So is that suggestion also untrue?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to play another clip from the same video. So this one is, again, from Petitioner's Exhibit 16, starting at a timestamp of approximately 42:31 through approximately 42:46. Same thing, we're going to play the video and I'm going to ask you a couple of questions.
Because the bottom line is this, we know you were there that day because your fingerprints said. Why would your fingerprint be there? I don't know, but you talking about I was there. I'm telling you, I ain't got nothing to do with none of that.
All right, so Marvin, in the clip we just watched, an officer, second time, told you they had your fingerprints at the flower shop. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, having been faced with this information a second time, why didn't you give in and say you were at the flower shop?
Because I wasn't there.
Okay. Did you have anything to confess?
Nothing to confess at all.
All right. I covered this with the last clip, but were your fingerprints found at the scene?
No fingerprints linking me to this crime at all.
Okay. All right, I'm going to play a third clip, again from Petitioner's Exhibit 16. This one starts at a timestamp of approximately 44:05, going through approximately 44:44.
Tell me something. You know that leaves your fingerprint, right? You understand that? Yeah, I understand. You're familiar with DNA as well? You understand how all that stuff works? Yeah, I understand. I'll be watching on that one show. Some of those cop shows and crime scene evidence shows, stuff like that. Yeah. Okay. I'll be watching on that. All right. So how's your bodily fluids, as it were, I don't get in this store? I don't even know what happened. I ain't even telling you what happened. I just breaking it down, but I'm telling you, I don't even be over there with you. You can ask. You were over there.
right, Marvin. In the clip we just watched, did the officer represent that your bodily fluids were found at the store?
Yes.
And asked you if you understood that that would contain DNA?
Yeah, he told me it contained DNA, my DNA, fingerprints. Yeah, he said all that stuff was located there.
All right. And you understand if they did have your DNA, that'd be pretty strong evidence, right?
Absolutely.
So they've now told you that they have your fingerprints, they have your DNA. After this, why didn't you just admit you were at the flower shop?
Because I wasn't there. I didn't even have too much information about this crime, so I was dumbfounded, actually.
Now, do you know if they actually found your DNA at the flower shop?
I know they never located none of my DNA, fingerprints, nothing.
Okay, was that a lie?
That was a lie.
So back when you were 16, were you aware at that time that the police were allowed to lie to you about the evidence they had?
I didn't know they was able to lie to me. At that time, I didn't know. I'm like, I really wasn't too familiar with the laws, with the policies, nothing. So I kind of was like, I really didn't really understand what was happening because I didn't think they could lie to me, you know. So I'm like, fingerprints and DNA, I really was dumbfounded.
All right. So yeah. So what was going on in your head when the officers say, "We got your fingerprints. We have your DNA at the flower shop"?
I'm like, this is impossible. Like, I'm thinking like they gonna find out like it's not me. So I was kind of still trusting in the legal process at that point. I'm thinking like, I know it's not me. I haven't did nothing like what they were suggesting.
So I'm going to pick up a little bit on the last thing you said there. You know, before going through this experience, did you think anyone could be convicted of a crime they didn't commit?
I really didn't have no information about somebody being wrongly convicted. I really had never heard about it. So when it was like, back then, I think everybody was guilty. Well, from my perspective back then, I did think if you went to jail, you did something. You know, I didn't think somebody could be capable of being wrongly convicted or, you know, being falsely accused. So I'm thinking if they coming at you like that, it's a reason.
So when you were sitting in that room as a 16-year-old, and they were telling you they had all this evidence, did you think this is all going to get sorted out, or what did you think?
Yes, I definitely did. I'm like, they're going to sort this stuff out. They're going to figure it out. And I'm going to get up out of here. I was confident, 100%, because I knew I had no involvement in it.
I'm going to play one more clip to have you comment on, Marvin. This one is, again, from Petitioner's Exhibit 16. This is starting at a timestamp of approximately 50:09, going through approximately 52:36. And again, I'll ask you a couple questions afterwards.
So if you're in a situation, Marvin, and something happened, and it was an accident, then it's an accident. And I don't think that's what happened, Marvin. I know y'all here to help me. I don't know what happened. I would have been. That's what happened with the story. I believe that's what happened. I think it was an accident, and things just didn't go as they planned. And unfortunately, you're in kind of a bad situation right now. And that's what we want you to know. Here we are. Yeah, here we happened. Here's the thing, Marvin, here's the thing. If you just went into some place, like I was saying, like the example I gave you, where you just roll up on some busted them just like that, for no reason, that would be some bad stuff. Yeah. You know, that'd be bogus, straight up bogus. But, you know, I don't do it. I fight people. I fight people all the night. But I ain't even do none of that no more. Right, that's straight up bogus. Yeah. And I know, and I'm saying, really, right. But, you know, an accident isn't straight up. Yeah, so what did you go into this flower shop for? I ain't going to the flower shop. Hey, Marvin. That's what we want to talk about, Marvin. Listen, here's the bottom line. Everything's over and done. Everything's over and done. That's the bottom line. It's over and done, you know? And that's why we're here today, and that's what we got to get straightened out. And we got to get this turned around and start working for you. Because if it was an accident, Marvin, it's an accident. You need to explain that to us. I will explain it, but the thing is, we can't have people come to us and say, okay, this is the guy, this is the guy I saw in the store, this is the guy. I mean, that's what I mean. Marvin, you know what I was saying to you. Okay, Marvin, you know what a lie is? Yeah, I know what a lie is. That's when you're telling me I was here, I was there instead. Okay, well, we didn't come in here as the first step, it's probably the last step, okay? So we already know everything, okay? Except whether it was accidental or what happened. Okay, but what I'm getting at is you're painting yourself into a corner, you're saying wasn't there, there's evidence, okay, there's witnesses. What I'm telling you, what I'm telling you, imagine if Dave and I, right now, say Dave's in a...
Now, Marvin, in the clip we just watched, did you understand the officers to be trying to get you to admit to a version of the story where the killing was an accident?
Yeah, they was trying to basically get me to admit that it was an accident and I was involved in this.
Okay. And did you understand that an accident would be less bad than a version of the story where someone went to the flower shop intending to kill someone? Right?
Yes.
Okay. So why didn't you take their lifeline and admit, okay, it was an accident? Especially after they told you they had your fingerprints and your DNA.
Because I was not involved.
Okay. Now, if you would have admitted to that, would it have been true?
It would have been untrue if I told them, like, this was an accident or I was there. That would have all been lies because I wasn't there. I didn't have no involvement in it. So I couldn't do that.
And again, with the officers telling you in this way that they had everything they needed to convict you, why didn't you just confess?
Because I'm innocent.
Counsel, with all due respect, you've asked the question 20 times,
Okay.
and when you start a question with again, it kind of is asked and answered. So I'll ask you to move on.
Okay. I have one just further question, Your Honor, which, and I promise this will be the last time I ask this. I just want to get it cleanly on the record. Why are you here today, nearly 2 decades later, still fighting your case?
Because I'm innocent, 100%.
No further questions.
Any questions from the state?
Just a few, Your Honor. Hi, Mr. Haynes.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
That was Lieutenant Keefe in those video clips who was talking to you back in 2004, right?
Yes.
The same Lieutenant Keefe who testified here in the courtroom yesterday, right?
Yes.
And back at your trial in 2005, there was testimony at that trial, not necessarily those video clips, but there was testimony at that trial that you sat through about the techniques that Lieutenant Keefe was trying to use during his interview and during his interrogation, about claiming there was DNA evidence, about claiming there was surveillance video, right? That was
Yes.
put out in front of the jury at your trial in 2005?
Was it put out at my trial?
Yeah, was there testimony from Sergeant Matheson about the techniques that were used in that interrogation?
I can't really remember if it was brought up, but I know they was talking about that it was no evidence linking me to the crime, DNA.
Right, right.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that nature.
And I know you were hearing the legal arguments before about whether the video itself should be, received and should be played for the judge in this proceeding. One of those arguments was the effect on the listener. If you heard Mr. Marquardt reference that before, maybe 10, 15 minutes ago, did those techniques have any effect on you? Did they cause you to admit or to confess to the crime?
No, it caused me to think why would they be asking? At that point, they didn't tell me that it was a murder, it was a robbery. So I didn't know none of that at that point. So I was just under the belief that they was questioning me and wanted me to answer these questions, and I really didn't have no problem with it. Honestly, I just was trying to answer the questions and get it over with, and I was thinking I was going home after that. So I really,
Sure.
that's how I felt.
And you testified at your trial in this case back on, I think the specific date was September 1st of 2005, correct?
Yes.
And if there's any inconsistencies or discrepancies, however small or large, between what you're saying here today and then compared to something that you said when you were on the witness stand back at your original trial, that would be attributed just to like Dr. Sablai testified yesterday, to memory slowly fading over time?
It could be, and the trauma I experienced going through this experience.
Sure. No. Thank you, sir. I have no further questions for you.
Anything else from the defense?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Haynes. You can step down. Again, please watch your step there.
All right.
Does the petitioner have any other witnesses that wishes to call at this time?
At this point, Your Honor, no. The only outstanding witness, as the court is already aware, would be Robbie Seeley, which we're going to continue the proceedings for that, but not at this point.